Hello and welcome to BBC News. We're broadcasting to viewers in the UK and around the world. I'm Alistair Yates. Well, the pop star Michael Jackson has died in Los Angeles. He was 50. Paramedics were called to his home in Hollywood after he suffered a suspected heart attack. He was rushed to hospital but reportedly never regained consciousness. Crowds are gathering at the hospital and at his home. The news of his death has been greeted with shock and disbelief, with tributes coming in from show business stars across the world.
Very, very sad, and I pray that his soul is up there now. I just hope that somewhere I'm still trying to, to hold on to the glimmer that it is not true. It's too surreal for me to absorb that Michael is no longer with us. That's all I can tell you now. I'm sorry, I have to go. Thank you very much for calling me.
The writer and broadcaster Bonnie Greer described Jackson as a genuine genius whose eccentric behaviour was far outweighed by his music.
I grew up in Chicago, not far from where Michael was born, and his family and his music has been a part of my life, most of my life. I remember him as a little boy, as many people, especially Americans, do. He was enormous, and I think that will come to the fore as time goes on.
The star had been due to perform 50 shows in London starting next month. Entertainment industry observers were unsure whether he'd be fit enough to complete them. But the music journalist Jacqueline Springer said he'd made a lasting contribution to popular music.
He pioneered the tool that is the music video. The fact that he was there and, harnessed so much promotion for black artists into the mainstream generation.
Even the British Foreign Secretary weighed in. Writing on the Twitter website, David Miliband said, "Never has one soared so high and yet dived so low. R.I.P. Michael." Alex Kruger, BBC News.
We're going live to Los Angeles now to talk to our correspondent David Willis. David, give us a sense, would you, first of all, just how traumatic this whole event is going to be for the people of Los Angeles and around the world.
Enormously dramatic, I think, Alistair. I mean, what we've got here is somebody who is widely acknowledged, despite all the controversy that has dogged him over the years, as a musical genius. And let's not forget that the 1982 album Thriller spawned a whole series of hits, but hasn't been outsold since it was released. This is a man who made an enormous musical contribution. Of course, later in his life, he went on to almost court controversy. We had, all those allegations of child sexual abuse, that very long trial from which he was cleared, of course, in the end. But instead of actually rejuvenating his career, it seemed it had permanently suffered a setback. And there were this forthcoming tour, which was to hopefully put Michael Jackson back on the world stage. But even then, it was dogged by rumours that Michael Jackson was perhaps getting cold feet. Some of the dates had already been cancelled, and so on and so forth. At the heart of all that, of course, lies Michael Jackson's ongoing financial problems that have dogged him for almost the majority of his professional career.
David, given what you've said there, all those factors, do you think any of that could have played a part in what we believe was this cardiac arrest? I mean, was there anything leading up to this possibly happening?
Well, what I can tell you, Alistair, is that this was a man who, for many years now, has not enjoyed good health. We saw that, I saw that up close and personal during the sex abuse trial up in Santa Maria, California, a few years ago. When Michael Jackson arrived, you'll probably remember one day in pajamas, looking extremely bedraggled. It clearly took its toll on his health, that whole thing, which I don't think had been good up to that point. And as I mentioned, there was a lot of hope that Michael Jackson might be rehabilitated, both physically and in terms of his reputation, by being acquitted of those charges. Well, it clearly didn't come to pass, and Michael Jackson was due to play 50-date tour starting in London, and that is, of course, not going to happen.
Then, of course, we mustn't forget, not only was he the king of pop, as he was dubbed by Elizabeth Taylor, of course, but he was a father. He's got 3 children that he leaves behind, hasn't he?
Absolutely, and no word at the moment of where those children are. We hear that Michael Jackson's mother, Kathleen, is at the hospital, was with him when he was taken to the UCLA Medical Center here in Los Angeles, but no word of the children. But that, of course, is one of the tragedies of the events today, and of course, the care of those children now will be one of the many questions that remain over the legacy, in a sense, of Michael Jackson.
I mean, what a checkered life he's had. You've mentioned, of course, the case that he had to face there. That was dropped, of course, at the end of that trial. But tell us about his childhood. Let's go right back, because he had just the most appalling childhood, didn't he?
Absolutely. Born and raised in Gary, Indiana, which is not even now, actually, not a particularly desirable place to live. And he was the lead singer, of course, of the Jackson 5. And this is somebody who's basically been in the public eye for the majority of his life, and perhaps, as has been said already, one of the most famous and easily recognized people around the world, despite the many transformations that his physical appearance took on. There have been people here in Los Angeles who've been saying in the last couple of hours, Alistair, that this man's musical legacy will rival that of Bing Crosby, of Frank Sinatra, even of Elvis Presley.
Mm. You know, it strikes me, just thinking about his childhood, David, that, you know, he was always called the Peter Pan of pop, wasn't he? He always came across as wanting to stay young, that he obviously missed his childhood. He didn't have a childhood at all, did he? And it seems like he was always striving for that and wanted somehow to keep all that going.